Hello, lovies. Um, so I wanted to talk today about feeling snackish. So that's when we're not really like hungry for a meal. We're just wanting to kind of snack on things. Um, so I, for me, I I am very big on trying to understand things. So for me, I I've talked with a lot of people, over the course of my whole life, but, um, just talked with a lot of people about like when we're feeling snackish. And, um, you know, a lot of people I think feel guilty about that. Um, like, like we're not supposed to do that, right? Because it can lead to overeating or, bad health choices, which could lead to health problems or things like that. Um, so for me, it's important to understand the cause of like why we're feeling so snackish. Um, so I don't know how many of you out there know this, but um, sometimes this like feeling can stem from a physical need, um, which is really important to know. Because, if you're noticing patterns like, say for example, you're craving a lot of like red meats or like chocolate or things like that, that could actually be because you're lacking in iron, for example, where your body kind of intuitively knows that you need to get more of a certain nutrient, then it's signaling to you that you need to seek it out, even though you might not directly know what it is. So it's important to pay attention to what kind of foods you want. For me, a lot of times it's like salty stuff, like chips, or I'll crave the taste of soy sauce. And those are very salty things. Um, so for me, I take that as kind of a signal from my body that I'm not consuming enough sodium, which might sound counterintuitive to some people. But again, I don't know how many of you out there know this, but we actually do need sodium to help our bodies hydrate. A lot of people think of salt as being bad for our bodies. And too much salt definitely is, but we do need a little bit of sodium to help us absorb the water that we're drinking, and that's what helps keep us hydrated. So kind of pay attention to those things because it could definitely be a physical need. If it seems like a really misguided, like you don't really know, you're all over the place, you feel like you think you're hungry, that might be dehydration, actually. So drink a cup of water and just wait a few minutes and see if that helps, because a lot of times we can misinterpret thirst as hunger, and so we end up eating a lot and we still don't feel like satisfied because we're not getting what we need. So it's important to pay attention to those things and be aware of what your body might be trying to tell you that it needs. That having been said, I also recognize that sometimes feeling snackish can stem from like an emotional need. And while I don't condone emotional eating, I do want to kind of touch on that a little bit today. Um, my mom on our most recent visits has started telling me to stop eating my emotions, basically. where I don't know if other people really notice that about me or not. Um, but she's aware of it, and she felt the need to just remind me to be careful about that. Um, so that's definitely a problem that I have developed over the years. Um, but in trying to take some time to really think about it, and to think about it kind of more logically, the same as how our body has physical needs, I started trying to think about it more as like, well, the emotional need is important too. And if we try to ignore that, and if we neglect it, it can sometimes just really build up and become overwhelming. So um, I wanted to talk with you guys. I wanted to share about sometimes when I feel that emotional snackishness coming on. And it's important to understand your own feelings and where they're coming from, what's causing it, um, and things like that. But that's a whole another video. I'll touch more on that later, probably. But today I just want to talk about kind of, if you really feel that urge. I don't think that comfort foods are necessarily a bad thing, but all things in moderation, that's important. So for me, when I was like feeling snackish, I used to like jump back and forth a lot, because I didn't feel like fulfilled. That need was not being satisfied. So I'd kind of jump back and forth a lot to a lot of different foods, and that's where the overeating came in. So I took a little bit of time today to sit down and think about different feelings, and maybe some of my favorite food or drinks that can help me kind of like it feels like it's helping with that need. So I have here anxiety. And anxiety can be a tough one. But for me, I like to take a magnesium supplement. You can get it in like a powder mix, and just like mix it into water. You can get it unflavored, so you can mix it into any drink. But I really like the pink lemonade. To me, like pink lemonade is a good flavor for helping reduce anxiety. And then the magnesium itself helps kind of calm the body down. So that's a good one I have found for anxiety, is just like, mixing some of that magnesium powder into a cup of cold water, and just kind of sipping on that a little bit. And then these are kind of awkward feelings to talk about. But emptiness. For those of you who understand these feelings, you understand. I don't even have to explain. For those of you who don't get it, that's awesome. Don't even worry about it. Come back to this video if you ever need it, and if not, that's awesome. For me, emptiness, I found that I like a good, like freshly baked cookie and just a cup of cold milk. And like a good cookie. Whether that means baking them yourself, or whether a place that sells good cookies, And you can maybe warm it up in the microwave or in the oven. If you have a toaster oven, just warm it up a little bit so it tastes like just a freshly baked, warm cookie. And then, a nice cold cup of milk. For me, that helps a lot. And I'll go all out. I'll get like organic whole milk. And again, we're talking about in moderation, trying to satisfy that need. So like, if you're going to do that, just kind of slow down, have your one cookie, and just like sit and savor it, and let it kind of just be in that moment, and let it do what it needs to do. For me, another feeling is just this kind of like just defeated. I don't know if anyone else out there ever feels that way. Just defeated. I like soup or stew. Mostly soups. I like soups because I like a lot of broth. But gosh, a good soup can go a long way for uplifting your spirit. And again, whether you cook at home, it could be something simple. It could be something you throw together. If you keep a stock of, canned goods in your home, it could be as easy as throwing together like just a carton of like chicken broth with some canned beans, some canned like diced tomatoes. If you have chicken in the freezer, there's some chicken in there. Once it's cooked, shred it up. Throw some seasonings in there, and like it can make a nice enchilada soup. Put some like diced chilies in there or something. Or just like, regular chicken soup, chicken broth. If you have fresh produce, you can do like onions, celery, carrots, then throw some herbs in there, oregano, thyme, rosemary. These are quick, easy things that you can just kind of like throw together, and it can be so nice to just have like a nice bowl of hot soup when you're down and out. For feelings of like loneliness, for me, this varies because I notice, it's kind of like what kind of loneliness or who maybe I'm feeling lonely for. So for me, it's about foods that remind me of people that I love, that I'm missing. That can go a long way. And, it doesn't have to be my favorite food necessarily, but if it reminds me of somebody that's dear to my heart, and somebody that I'm missing at the time, or somebody who maybe I'm not even necessarily missing them specifically, but somebody who usually is able to kind of be there for me, to help me feel like I'm not alone in the world. What's a food that reminds me of them, or a drink that reminds me of them? And, that can be very comforting in that way. So again, that I don't have a very specific one. Honestly, usually I crave like foods that remind me of my mom's cooking when I'm feeling lonely. And again, it's going to be different for everyone. But for me, I've kind of noticed that pattern, that when I'm just kind of feeling isolated from the world, I usually kind of fall back on foods my mom used to make when I was younger, when I was living at my parents' house. For a sense of like powerlessness, or like you don't really know what to do, I like to sit down with a nice cup of herbal tea, put some honey in it, and just take some time away from everything and just sip on a nice cup of hot tea. That can really go a long way in helping at least clear my mind. When I'm kind of like just lost, like I don't really know what to do, what direction to move, what task to focus on, things like that, like just a general sense of like, don't know. I don't know. Pesto pasta can go a long way. And pesto's not hard to make if you keep fresh grains in your house. If not, I mean, keep a jar of pesto in your pantry. Everyone makes pesto. But yeah, it's not a very complicated dish to make. So it's easy to drop some pasta in some hot water, let that cook up. Or if you are, for any reason, you don't eat pasta, special dietary restrictions, or just personal preference, whatever it is, you can do like those veggie spirals. My favorite is the sweet potato, but they also have the zucchini spirals, which for me, I think get a little bit watery, like the frozen ones, you can keep those in your freezer and just like grab them out of there. But yeah, like just a nice pesto. I don't know, there's something about it. Like the basil is just, I don't know, it's kind of like refreshing and helps kind of clear my mind a bit, and just kind of gets me moving again. So I like that. For like a disconnect, I guess, just like a general, it's not a specific, like missing anybody or anything like that. It's when you just kind of feel disconnected, whether it's from society, from friends or family, from your spirituality, from yourself even, for that general like disconnect feeling. I like water, just water. I like to like be in water. For me, that's relaxing. But when we're talking about like food or drink, that can go a long way. Just a cup of water and just drink it and let it just kind of be, and see if that helps, where you're able to kind of find some clarity, maybe. Anyway, this video is turning out to be a lot longer than I thought it would be, but I just wanted to talk about that because it's really important. And especially in today's society where we're getting into like body positivity, which I'm absolutely for. Nobody should be put down for what their body type is, or what somebody's personal goals are, or anything like that. But it is important to still focus on health. right? We're not talking about the way our bodies look. We're talking about the way our bodies feel and function, and that's important. So, when I think I've kind of fallen into groups of people who the culture is very much just food based. And I love food. Anyone who knows me knows I love food. I absolutely do. But I think it's important how we're using and enjoying food. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about this week is, just when you kind of get those feelings of just snackishness and wanting to eat, just take a second and consider where that feeling is coming from and how to satisfy it with, like, a portion controlled snack to satisfy any needs that you might have. And that's how we stop from overeating or eating things that are bad for us and not really knowing or understanding where it's coming from or why it's happening and not knowing how to stop it. So it's important to pay attention, listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to like your intuition, and take care of yourselves. Right, lovies? Snacking isn't bad, but over snacking can be. Anyway, that's it for this week. And next week, I'm excited because we're going to be checking in on that burpee challenge. I don't know how many of you have been doing it or keeping up with it, but I'm excited to talk about that and more on some physical health stuff next week. All right. I love you all, and I'll see you later.